All right. So today we have Stacy Faller.
Woohoo!
Stacy's going to be talking about culture today. Now our episodes are being released at different times.
Okay.
So they're going to notice that our background is different again.
Again.
We just said we're kind of like the food truck that we just like roam around the building to different spots.
This is
But it's
probably
good
the best
content.
setup. This is a great setup.
This was a little squishy.
They probably can't
And
tell from there how
they
squishy
probably
it is, though.
can't.
But
No, but I did say we should do like behind the screen.
Uh-huh.
Like this is what it looks like
Yeah.
for us. And but anyhow, we are getting a permanent spot and there is construction taking place in it right now. So
Construction is such a generous word for whatever's
Should we
happening
tell
in
them
there.
what a byproduct of that
Kurt.
construction was? Kurt and Shelley threw some of my stuff away that was
That's
in that
true.
room that I didn't
Mom
know.
and dad.
Yeah.
They
Threw
threw
it
her
away.
stuff
And then-
away.
And then dad was on vacation.
Dad being Kurt.
Yeah, dad being Kurt was on vacation and mom went on a cleaning spree.
She sure did.
No, he
Shelley-
was there when they cleaned too, because
Oh.
I had a tool called a tot tube. And I was
You
like,
do not put children in it if that's what you're
No, I don't.
thinking.
Look it up. I sent an email to everybody after they sent an email to everybody saying there were extras somewhere. And Kurt Googled tot tube and he's like, yep, took pleasure when I threw that in the dumpster. I was like, Kurt, I bought that with my own money and I used it once.
Now we
But
have
he got me a new one.
we have office chairs like piled up
Yeah.
that are like old, falling apart, but there's no room in the dumpster right now.
There
We
were
have
no-
to wait and do like one chair at a time for the next like month.
I
Stacy?
saw those.
Were there any tots in the tube when
No
you threw it
tots
away?
in the
Okay, so
tube.
no tots were harmed in the tossing of the tot tube.
Put-in
I was gonna say, you
activity
have
that
to, like,
kids
explain this to
So
everybody.
it's a tube. I mean, it's unbelievable that you paid $25 for it, but it's a tube. And then it has a clear space in the middle, and it's like you could give it to a kid to put cars in. So, where's the blue one? So we tried to use it for assessments.
Okay.
So
got
we're
it.
trying to get different concepts and to make it fun, because a kid's not going to look at a picture and, point to the blue one or whatever. Oh, but let's put the blue truck in this time or whatever. And then the satisfaction is that they can see it go through the tube. It's called a put-in
Oh.
activity.
All right, my friend. So here's your question.
Okay.
This is a great question. Now I know that this would have been like probably back in the Stone Age, so teaching was a very different.
She's
Oh, I
so
hate your
good at
guts.
making fun of Stacy.
Well, as you were
her
explaining your
age.
trajectory, I realized you probably could have been my speech language pathologist.
No,
with,
I
yeah,
couldn't.
yeah. Well,
What year
maybe
did you graduate?
no. Actually, you were 2008, but you were probably a little. I would have
I
been
was
10 when you
practicing,
started your
yeah.
career. So I think I had mastered my R's. I had to go to speech for my
I
A's,
didn't know that. That
and my
was
last
new.
name was Shellabaga. It went really well for me. And actually, you guys will know, like when I get excited, sometimes my R's do the.
I've never
Now I'm
noticed.
going to
Uh-huh.
listen.
I would have noticed.
I
I've
get
never
really
noticed.
self-conscious about
Oh,
it.
that's funny.
Okay, so anyways, Stacy, who was your favorite teacher growing up and why?
Okay, so I'm going to say two people and they're related, so it's probably part of why. I would say Mr. Shuttleworth, the band director, and Mrs. Myring, the choir director. I learned a lot about leadership and teamwork and things like that with them, confidence. I don't know. And I like music still to this day, like Mrs. Myring in particular. I would have never known I liked Broadway musicals and things like that. She exposed me to my first musical and different things like that. And Mr. Shuttleworth too. It was just a lot about discipline and teamwork. And I really think both of them I could attribute some of my leadership skills to, because they both gave me leadership roles
Mhm.
within that. So
It was probably a positive culture, right? Like,
yes.
So where did you go to school at? Where did
Fort
you
Recovery.
Fort Recovery,
Yep.
and you graduated from Fort Recovery.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All right. I knew you were going to say it right, so I tried to jinx you.
We always talk about
I
this.
did
is
watch
what
your
I
last
know.
Yeah, the
episode when you
filler.
say,
And
all
now
right,
it's
all
like
right.
a running joke. Now I feel like I just have to say it.
And I
All
wanted to
right.
try to time it with you.
Wonder what
All right.
mine is. I'm sure I have one too.
All right. Yeah, I said mine was like.
We'll pick it up.
Like.
Stacy, how long have you been at the ESC?
This is my 24th year.
24th year.
Sorry.
I know. It's so weird.
Yeah. So can you just describe what the culture is like at the ESC?
I think our culture is great. I mean, you can already tell just from this episode, we like to have fun. We all enjoy being around each other. My personality is very much sarcasm and joking around. And I always say, like, if I'm picking on you, it's like a love language. It's like that's how I show that I like you. Um, I mean, I can talk a little bit about how it was when I started. And I'm not going to say that it was bad, but it was very much I didn't know where I fit in. I started
Mhm.
out, I was split between Fort Recovery and Parkway, so I didn't really belong there. I didn't really belong there. I'm already a speech therapist who's the only one who does
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
do in a building, right? So it was kind of weird. And then the ESC wasn't a place I ever went to as an employee. I often thought I'm not sure if the superintendent or the people there even know who I am. They know my
Mhm.
name, but if I were to walk past them on the street, they might not know who I am. It wasn't a very you didn't feel like you were part of something, and I feel like we've really built that here in the last 10 years to be I feel like I can identify with working at the ESC. We have a very much of a family culture, and I think it's always, your family comes first. Our work here is important. Everybody takes it seriously, but we like to have fun,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and that's part of what makes it fun to be here, right? You don't wanna
Right.
come and dread where you're going or feel like, "Well, nobody knows who I am. It doesn't really matter what I do anyway." I don't know,
Mhm.
kinda
Mhm.
thing.
I think people take that for granted a lot because unless you've been in a culture that is flat out like, I've been in cultures that aren't even, like, neutral, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where it's like,
Mhm.
maybe I fit, maybe I don't. I've been in cultures where it's like, I don't wanna go to work, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's not a fun place to be, but I also like, if I you've been here through transition, so if you try to drill down to, like, what fosters that kind of culture, what do you think it is? Like, what causes that shift?
Well, I think it's leadership for sure. I mean, and I think it's leading intentionally. It felt like, the ESC was more of a figurehead or something
Yeah.
and not so much intentionality with what we're gonna do to develop our own staff and our own programs and kind of I mean, Shelley's thing was always tell our story, and
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that's when a shift, in my opinion, came, and maybe, Wendy's been here longer than me, maybe Wendy can kinda speak to that a little bit too, but it felt like that's when there was a shift. We're telling our story because people didn't know what we do or, I'd say people still think I'm hired by Fort Recovery because I was the speech therapist
Yeah.
at Fort Recovery
Right.
for so long, but, or like when Shelley came to the ESC, it's like, "Oh, you went to the ESC too?" And I'm always like, "No, I was at the ESC longer than
Yeah,
her."
you've been here before her. You
But you know
paved
what
the
I
way.
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I always tease her about that, but I really do think that the leadership piece matters. That sets the culture and, um, a level of trust, a level
Mhm.
of, belief that you hire people who can do what they do and you're there
Mhm.
to support them. Um, I feel like that's been a game changer here, and that's what
Mhm.
helps define it, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't ask me that, I don't know.
We're gonna
That's
ask
my
you every question.
question.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so actually this is a good segue into what I was gonna say anyways. Stacy is very much like Wendy and how some of Wendy's questions, she's like, I don't know how to answer these. And it's because she just does it so well that she's not cognizant of the things that she does. So we already have a list of these things in our head that you do. So if you don't say anything, we'll
Okay,
just say it for you.
okay.
But what's one intentional thing you do to build a strong team culture?
Um, I don't know, I just intentionally try to do things that are not, I guess, related to, I guess, your professional work or your job, but, like, what fun things can we do to make everything not so serious sometimes?
Yes. Don't
I
start
love
that answer
that.
with, well, I
Yes.
don't know.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
Yes, that is what you said, Stacy.
You make the
Yes.
world go round. Tell them what you
What you
plan.
do? Yeah.
Yeah, like tell
What
them a
what
few of those things.
Okay, so while I was just telling them yesterday, I was looking through some pictures at home and I found pictures. This is going to sound morbid when I say when Queen Elizabeth died, but I found pictures in 2022 when Queen Elizabeth died, and several of us here like to follow all the royal family stuff. And we're always chitter chattering about that. So I said, well, we need to have tea. We need to have a tea on the day of the Queen's funeral.
Yes.
So we had tea, and I think I made scones, and we had jam, and
and we were so
Val
sad
made
because
cucumber
we were like
sandwiches.
Yeah,
not
we were
here.
probably teaching
So
people
that
about literacy,
Yeah.
which is really
So
important, but we like cake
but
too.
yeah,
yeah, so maybe we need to have another tea party.
Yeah.
I think
That
we
was
do.
really fun, but we would have to have Val come back because she made the cucumber
Mm.
sandwiches. They were good. I know she would love it. Um,
We're talking to you, Val.
yeah, Val, I hope you're listening. Shout out to Val. And then I don't know, like this year I was like, we don't celebrate a lot of little things in our offices the way they do out in districts, like so birthdays, for example. So, and it's hard because in fairness, a lot of us are off and out and about in other places. But so this year we're going to try and be intentional about, okay, during on this date, we're going to celebrate the birthdays from these 2 months and we're going to have a carry in and sign in and just little things like that.
Yeah, those aren't little things. Those are
I
big
Or the
know.
things.
family feud.
The
We did the
family
family
feud
feud
was
for
so
opening day.
fun.
So just try to do fun little things like that.
Yeah, and as somebody who's on the receiving end of those things, like that means a lot. It does. So like
Mhm.
those leaders that are listening, like no idea is too small because remember I forget his name, the guy who came for the admin retreat
Last year?
Oh,
this
Oh,
year.
no.
this
Like those
year,
little moments,
the
Lake
right?
guitar
Fly?
guy.
Lake
Yeah, like
Fly.
talking
Yeah.
to people in an
Yes, the
elevator or like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
think of things that create change as these big like I have to have an initiative and a spreadsheet and a bulleted list and it's like
Well, and
no.
I think being genuine about it, one of the things that kind of sparked for me was, we are all different people. We don't all gel well with everybody, right? There are some people that you just don't maybe
Yeah.
jive with, but still being intentional about asking them questions about themselves. And over time, it's like you do become interested, and yeah, your personality still may not jive, but you've made a connection with
Mhm.
that person,
Mhm.
and you're not. And maybe at first you kind of had to make yourself do that because maybe you feel like some people aren't your cup of tea, but eventually you
Yeah.
start to know them, and then
Right.
you do ask, and then it becomes a genuine relationship.
Well, it's hard to
Mhm.
dislike somebody that you know you have similarity. You know what I mean? It becomes
Yes.
harder when you're writing that own narrative yourself about
Yep.
people you dislike. It's easy to
Yep.
but like we all have birthdays. That's a
Yeah.
commonality.
And most of us have kids, so that's always a commonality. And I know everybody doesn't, but there's
Yeah.
always that to talk about.
Oh gosh, yes,
Mhm.
there is. That's for sure.
Just
Yeah.
family in general.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
any family
Yeah.
dynamic or anybody you're close to.
I think you do a great job. Can you just talk about the family feud? Like, coming up with the questions and just all of that? Because if
So,
somebody wants to take that away, that's something that they could easily do.
yeah, yeah. So, I actually got the idea somebody did it at my husband's work at Cooper's, and he didn't say a lot about it, but he came home that day and one of the questions was, "What's Jose Faller's favorite lunch food?" or whatever it was, I don't remember, and just laughing at what people said and then what we said in our house because obviously we know him better and a lot of people were and I was like, "That would be a really fun activity to do." And so then it evolved into, okay, how can we make this work? We always try to incorporate special ed somewhere in the admin retreat. So let's actually survey the special ed teachers about um, things having to do with special ed and see how the administrators answer. And then the same thing, let's do this with opening day. Let's actually ask the questions of our staff and then get answers. So some were fun, some had right answers and wrong answers, like what's Shelley Vaughn's favorite drink. So it was fun to see what people thought and then to have Shelley reveal at the end what it was, or Kurt's
Mhm.
favorite restaurant, or
Yes.
different things like that.
And then they
So
get to know each other too.
yeah, so I just did a Google form and, it compiled all the responses for me, which my husband made fun of me how I was organizing them because there has to be an easier way, but my brain
Yeah.
works so different than
Uh-huh.
everybody else's
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
brains. So the way I was doing it was hilarious. We won't go into that. But I found a
Little template.
$5 template that I just had to put the information in then. So if
That's
anybody
awesome.
wanted to know what that template was, I can send it to you and you could purchase it for $5 because you have to have that to actually make it run
Yeah.
and
And it had
work.
like the sound effects
Yeah, it
and
was
Yeah.
like,
awesome.
yeah,
It
it
was
was
Yeah.
so
really
good.
You
fun.
could even do a fast money round and all of that, but
Mhm.
we kind of modified it for our big group.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yep.
All right, this is a question that Stacy said, "Don't
Don't
ask me
ask me
this
that one.
question," which I do think that you already talked about some of this, but the question was, can you share a culture win that you've seen in your work? So maybe not taking it from like the ESC and like this perspective, but like with the speech supervisors or the speech not
Okay.
supervisors, but
Speech
yeah,
therapist.
the
Yeah. From a
therapists, like
supervisor role.
because they're in districts.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the culture piece there. So, like 10 years ago when Shelly came here, she made me the quote unquote speech supervisor. We didn't have anybody before that. And I just think part of the win came from just having a single
Mhm.
point of contact
Mhm.
because, like I said, we're all out there in all of these places, the only person who does what we do. And while many of the districts make us feel really welcome and part of the staff, there's still not anybody who understands what our role really is.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so I think being intentional about, we're going to have some meetings, they're going to be required for you to come. We're not going to ask permission for you to come. You're just going to let your district know, hey, we have a speech staff meeting, because I think it's important for everyone to be able to get together, feel supported. We also brought some, it's called a workload calculator, so that so that we were getting a good gauge for whether or not we were giving people an appropriate workload,
I
and
like that.
kind of moved away
Mhm.
from number of kids to what's the workload that it takes. Because, of course, somebody who has a whole classroom full of low incidence kids has a bit of a, if they have 6 kids, that's a higher workload than
Yeah.
if I had 6
Mhm.
kids who are, I hate to say, just working on speech sounds, but you know
Right.
what I mean? It's
Right.
the required amount of supports and services looks different. So I think that that's really improved the culture within our department, having, knowing that there's support, knowing that I'm there to help support them if they need it, but we're all coming together on a regular basis, and we really are looking out for, making sure that they have a workload that's manageable for them. And when I talk, I've actually thanked Kurt, Shelley, and our board before in board meetings, because when I go to like the Ohio Speech Supervisor Network and talk to people and they talk about some of the working conditions and workloads that their staff have and the issues that they're running into in districts, I'm like, we are so blessed that the board has
Mhm.
allowed us to do it in that way, and also very blessed with the districts that we serve who trust us that we're doing the best for kids and who don't try to, I hate to say micromanage, but like they kind of let us know that that's our wheelhouse and know that
Yeah.
that's our
They trust you.
expertise, and they trust that we're going to serve. And I mean, I think we do a good job, and I don't hear any negative feedback about that. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, I think that that's good. So,
Well, and what I love about that example is it shows how adult culture positively impacts kids
yep,
because
Mhm.
the person who's working with students who have higher needs, they can give more to those kids when they have a manageable caseload.
right.
You know what I mean? So
Oh,
then it's
yeah,
also built
Mhm.
in so that the students who have the highest needs are getting the people with the cups that can pour
right.
from those.
Yeah, when I started here, my caseload, I was split between Coldwater and Fort, no, not Coldwater, excuse me, Parkway and Fort Recovery. I had over 100 kids in those districts,
Wow.
and at that time, Parkway was, I was going to Mendon and Wilshire
Oh,
and
wow,
Rockford,
yes.
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, Jennifer Tuttle, one of our speech therapists, and I were just talking about this yesterday because she was the same. And she's like, and you just did it because you just do it. And
Yeah.
like you were glad to have a job and whatever, but it it was doing nobody any service. Do you know
Uh-huh.
what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm really proud of the fact that we do have a workload calculator here. And then when we did start to quantify it using that, it was like, okay, we're managing this
Mhm.
correctly. It actually was validating for us. There was nothing in it that it's like, oh, we need to make a big change. So that
Right.
was good,
Mhm.
because when I started, it was like, how am I going to do this? And I just did it, but
Mhm.
kids weren't getting the
The
best
service.
that they could have
Yeah.
gotten for
Uh-huh.
sure.
We've danced around this question a little bit, but we'll give you the
Mhm.
ability to kind of tie up some loose ends. How can leaders assess and shift their organization's culture?
Okay. So one of the things that I recently incorporated, and again, speaking of Rachel, I got this idea from Rachel. So when I do evaluations with staff every year or when they're up for contract or whatever, one of the Rachel had a couple of questions on hers with her staff, and it's basically like, how can the ESC support you in your work? There were a couple of questions like that, and I think it really does kind of assess
Yeah.
where people
Mhm.
are. And there were, I can't remember the questions, but they were all around that, like, what can we do to support you? What do you like that we're doing? What would you like to see, different? Some things like that to give
Mhm.
them some input. And I've really just kind of shift the whole assessment process. I mean, we're blessed and lucky that as SLPs, we don't have to do OTES. So there's never really been a formal assessment for us. And so in the years that I've been the supervisor, I've kind of tweaked that over the years. And now it's become less about, ooh, I gotcha. Yes, I'm still assessing them on what our job description says we should do, what the Ohio Board of Speech says we should do. Um, but I also have them assess themselves.
Yeah.
And then it
Ooh.
becomes, and I made it into a form, which somebody else probably could have done better because that's not my forte. But I they do the assessment and then I do the assessment and then we talk about it so that it becomes more about a conversation and not about a I got
Oh, I
you.
love
And so now we
that.
talk about, well, I rated you this, but you rated you this. You didn't give yourself enough credit because
Yeah.
you do this,
Uh-huh.
this, and this, or I rated you this and you rated you that, but I think you could work on X, Y, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Can you share that with me?
yeah. And so that was
Wouldn't you love that, Emily?
Yeah, here now I'm gonna get assessed this way. Thank you, Stacy.
But when I talked to Shelly about that, because I had developed this whole thing based on all of our work standards and tried to make it very so that it looked in line with OTES, but then I hated it because I felt like I'm just walking into your room and it's,
Yeah.
yep, you did it. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
And it's this, and it's like, to me, that's not what it's about. And in talking with Shelly, again, part of our culture, it's not about, like Shelly always says, perfection is not the standard. I agree. It's not the standard. Our goal is to always improve and get better. So it's about the conversation that you have
Mhm.
around those assessments.
Mhm.
And really, I guess it doesn't matter what you use. I could have kept doing what I was doing. I just felt stupid doing it.
Yeah.
And like,
Mhm.
I love going out and doing those assessments because I learned so much. There were so many things where it's like, dang, I sucked at that. I should have been doing this.
Right.
Or when I first started doing this, I still had a regular speech caseload. It'd be like, gosh darn it, I keep bumping my hand.
It's
Oh,
okay.
you're
I'm a
People
hand
do it
fine.
all the
talker.
You're
time.
fine. Yep.
But it would be like, what is that called? I'm going to write that down. I want to use that
Yeah.
when
Uh-huh.
to me, that was really valuable for me personally to be the
Uh-huh.
one to go out
Uh-huh.
and do that. And so, anyways, I kind of went off on a tangent, but the gist of it is I feel like that's how I try to kind of assess the culture and how people feel. And just, I think that the staff I have from a speech point of view in particular know that I'm always here to support them. It's a phone call or a text message away. And I think that they like that. Having said that, also giving them empowerment sometimes, like
Mhm.
you can do, you don't have to do it the
Mhm.
way that I do it. Like, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, balancing that a little.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because I think that when people feel like they don't have voice and choice in what they do, that's when you start to rebel or
Yeah.
you start to not
Mhm.
give 100%.
Yeah. Just be like, oh, I'll just do it. It
Yeah,
doesn't
checking
matter
a
what I do
box.
anyway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I was just like reflecting too, when you do have like staff or people that are out in the districts, and I've talked about this, sometimes I feel like I don't support them like I should because we're busy doing our
Mhm.
work. But I think the other important thing is like as a leader, like it's okay to just call or text to check in. Like
Right.
you don't have to be there always in person, that they still know that they can call you at
Yeah.
any time and you'll be there to support them.
Right.
And you need to be okay with that. Like
Yeah.
just the check-ins.
Okay, this is a really good joke. Okay.
This
Uh-huh.
is how she always starts a segment.
Every time because these are great jokes. Stacy,
Yes.
why did the bird go to the hospital?
Why?
To get some tweetment?
That is a great
That is a perfect one for me.
Isn't that
That's
speech?
hilarious.
Yes.
Okay, this
Is
gonna
that better
sound,
than Jose's
yes,
jokes?
Jose tells dad jokes. He has a dad joke book in the car
Jose's her
that he
husband.
tells on vacation. And yeah. Some of them are good, but some of them are not. That was really
Take this
good
one
for
home
me.
to him and tell Jose he'll get way more friends if he tells
So,
my jokes.
not saying your R's correctly, this is really bad because I'm a speech therapist, but one of the fun stories about me is I got set up on a blind date one time.
Oh.
And we went canoeing, whatever, it was fun, blah, blah, blah. Um, the blind date's kind of almost over, and we had gone with like a cousin and her husband, my sister and her husband, and my sister's like, how'd it go? What do you think? I was like, he can't say his R sounds, and he couldn't. He had trouble saying his
Oh,
R
and you
sounds.
can't, I
And I feel horrible saying that as a speech therapist, but I'm like,
But
no,
you
but
just
then it would have
knew.
become a project.
but also, it was more than that. Like, we did not click. It was a whole I mean, I could go on and on. Like, who
Jose, you're
yeah,
welcome.
sorry, Jose. And so now Jose's like, "Man, I wish she would have clicked with him." Look what I got stuck with. Anyway, so that's kind
Oh,
of funny.
that
Yeah,
was good.
take this one
You
That
can
back.
was a good
incorporate that
joke.
into one of your next,
I'll
like,
forget. I
meetings.
Tweet
can't
it.
even remember.
Just remember tweet it.
I know, I'll still forget.
Emily will email it to
Emily
you.
email it to
Yeah,
me
I got
because
you.
I'll
There you
have to
go.
look it up. My
Got you.
memory sucks.